Yo, what's up guys? In this video, we'll be talking about how to kill the tree golem, an entry-level boss when you first start Rougeblox. So I personally believe that this boss, since it's in the beginning, is a great way to understand your fundamentals, and also, when you're fighting other bosses, you won't die. So anyways, that being said, let's get right into the video. Now, to start this boss fight, or to actually attempt it, you need to go to the job board, which is pretty simple. As soon as you spawn in, it's going to be to the left when you go outside. And anyways, this boss has 4 moves, or technically 5, and I'll show them, and then we'll talk about how to react to each move, as well as some tips and tricks on how I fought mine as a level 1 or a base class. In fact, I actually had no class. So anyways, that being said, let's talk about its moves. Now, for the first move, we have the left hand swipe. Now, this move is actually one of the more easier ones to parry, so that's why I put it first. And pretty much, this has a slow wind up, but then it suddenly speeds up while it's actually slashing you, right? And my tip for this one is that basically count to 2 and then make sure to click F to parry it. It's that simple, right? And then occasionally after this move, this mob will follow up with a very powerful stomp, and this is the second part of this move. Technically, it should be considered its own, but anyways, to dodge this one, basically after you parry the previous one, and we'll get into what happens if you didn't parry, pretty much wait 1 second and then just spam Q, and then pretty much you should be able to dodge it, right? This attack is one of the more easier ones to dodge. Anyways, now let's say you didn't parry it, don't worry. The best thing to do in this situation, as corny as it sounds, is to stay calm and just keep spamming Q, because as soon as you get up, it'll just dodge the attack, right? It does give you a little bit of leeway. Anyways, that being said, let's talk about the third move, which I personally had a lot of trouble with, and it took me around 1 hour to figure out how to actually combat it. This move is the right hand slash. Now, this move is significantly faster than the left hand one, and it also has a very weird parry timing. And what I figured was that basically when the slash is coming down, you have to pretty much parry when the attack starts to move down, if that makes any sense. Again, this might sound weird, but pretty much you need to get the rhythm of this, right? Again, my only tips for this is just look at the animations of the actual mob while you're fighting it, and that should help you a lot. The parry timing is really strict. Again, I just want to specify that like the reaction window is like less than like a second. Anyways, that being said, let's talk about the fourth move, which is a blue dodgeable stomp. Now, this move is pretty straightforward. If you see the leg starting to move down, just click Q. It's that easy, right? He just raises his foot, he raises it down, just click Q, and that's it. Now, this attack is usually followed up by the left hand swipe or the right hand slash, so just keep that in mind in case you have to react fast, right? Anyways, for the fifth move, we have the tree eruption. Now, this one is also a pretty simple one. Basically, he kneels on the ground and summons trees in the area that is highlighted, and the highlight window is really low, and thus dodging is very tricky. However, I did find something that worked, which is basically as soon as the attack is done or it's starting, run to where the trees initially spawn, because I noticed that like trees don't respawn for some reason, right, where they already previously spawned, so you should be safe, right? Also, you could get away with a cheeky dodge sometimes if you're in the middle of it, and then also you could just run, but it's pretty unreliable. Now, that being said, since you know its moves, I'm gonna be showing how I defeated it as a fresh spawn, and how I navigated it, as well as my thought process, as well as some tips and tricks. Anyways, so let's get into that. Actually, before we get into that, I really would appreciate a subscribe, because I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, and also please join the Discord in the description. I want to do a bunch of events in this actual game, and I thought they'd be pretty fun, and who knows, man, you guys might be in a video. Anyways, let's talk about the tips and tricks. Now, first off, my biggest tip is to find a rhythm. Now, this is pretty simple. Figure out the moves, feel it out pretty much, just understand what you're doing, okay? Like, it should become second nature at some point. Additionally, while you're trying to find a rhythm, don't M1 while fighting. Now, this is pretty simple. Like, when you're first starting, just don't M1 the boss, okay? Just learn the parry timings, learn the blockings, or learn the dodging, sorry. And then pretty much you should be able to start incorporating some M1s, right? You don't want to go all into it, right? Because sometimes it's hard synergizing your M1s and Fs with your hands. Like, sometimes your brain kind of messes up the thought process. And here's my third tip, which is honestly a must know for almost every game, is that don't predict the move, react. Now, what does this mean? Well, pretty much a lot of people I see, even in Deep Woken or any other games, they try predicting the move that'll come out and try pre-firing a parry or whatever. However, what you should do is technically react to the move, right? So as soon as you see it, just know that, oh, I have to, dodge this one, or I have to parry, 2 seconds in, right? This helped me a lot personally, because when I used to play these type of games, I would just click F or Q as soon as I saw the move, and it would just basically, it would work sometimes, right? And that's why it became a bad habit. But in the long run, it would kind of mess me up when I'm fighting new bosses, right? So just keep that in mind. Anyways, for my last 2 tips, I have used cinematic mode. Now, I like this because technically it reduces the clutter on your screen, especially with the UI and all the player names, and it's just annoying for me sometimes. So for me personally, if you saw in the clip, I actually killed it while I was using it, but towards the end I enabled it just to see my HP. But not only does it help kind of see the mob more and the moves more, but it also technically doesn't show your HP, so you don't know how low you are. I personally found it that I was panicking when my HP was low, so that helped a lot. And then my last tip is don't get too greedy. Now, this is pretty simple. Don't just keep mindlessly M1ing. I would see myself just M1ing way too much for literally no reason. I don't know why I would do it, right? And just make sure you get like 3-4 M1s in after each attack, and just react accordingly. Again, don't predict, react. And pretty much that's the video, guys. Just subscribe. Hopefully I can hit 1,000 subscribers. Join the Discord. I don't got anything else to say, honestly. honestly. Watch my other videos.